Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, veuillez accueillir, please join me in welcoming our Prime Minister, le très honorable Justin Trudeau.
Thank you, just in case. So they brought us chairs so we could sit if we want, or just move over to the side while they show the film clips.
I think sitting down is good.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes. When is it?
7. Oh, fine. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, would everyone kindly take your seats as the ceremony is about to begin? We ask you that you turn off your cell phones and pagers, please.
Mesdames et messieurs, veuillez s'il vous plaît vous asseoir. La cérémonie étant sur le point de commencer, merci de bien vouloir éteindre vos téléphones cellulaires.
Okay. Okay, we turn on. I believe we have a video, am I right? Okay. I believe we are going to have O Canada by our Hebrew Foundation. What are they?
With love
Thank you. You may be seated. Good afternoon. My name is Fran Sunshine, and I'm the National Chair of the Canadian Society for Yad Vashem, one of Yad Vashem Jerusalem's largest representative bodies of its 28 offices worldwide. It is an honor for me to serve as your English-speaking MC today.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Bruce Kent. En tant que membre du conseil d'administration de la Société canadienne de Yad Vashem et fils d'une survivante de l'Holocauste, la commémoration de l'Holocauste est une cause qui m'est très chère. C'est pour moi un grand honneur d'agir aujourd'hui comme maître de cérémonie francophone.
On behalf of the Canadian Society for Yad Vashem, I would like to welcome our many esteemed guests, Holocaust survivors and their families, the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, the Honourable Jeff Reagan, Speaker of the House of Commons, His Excellency Raphael Barak, Ambassador of Israel in Canada, and the 50 representatives of diplomatic missions to Canada. I'd like to take a moment right now to say how touched we are at the Canadian Society to see so many diplomatic representatives from countries around the world joining us today. Will all those representatives of diplomatic missions who are here today please rise so we can recognize you?
Nous sommes heureux d'accueillir des membres du cabinet canadien, l'honorable Rona Ambrose, chef par intérim du Parti conservateur et de l'opposition officielle, Hélène Laverdière, représentante du nouveau Parti démocratique du Canada, et Elizabeth May, chef du Parti vert du Canada.
Supreme Court Justice, the Honourable Russell Brown, over 50 members of Parliament who are here. I'd also like to take this moment to express on behalf of the Canadian Society for Yad Vashem our great appreciation to all those in our government who took the time to come to this ceremony. It is really heartwarming to see individuals at the highest level of our government show their support for Holocaust commemoration. And I'll ask all of our guests who serve in our federal government, party leaders and representatives, members of the cabinet, members of our Senate, Supreme Court judges, and members of Parliament to please rise so we can recognize you.
Nous accueillons également Rabbi Reuven Bolka d'Ottawa, le Cantor Moshe Kraus, M. Richard Marceau, parrain du projet de la loi C-459, M. Raja Jain, agent des programmes multiculturels d'immigration, réfugiés et citoyenneté Canada, qui a généreusement accordé une subvention pour aider à financer cet événement. Les invités du commanditaire de notre cérémonie, la Fondation La Banque Royale, Lee et Ashley Gertz, Russell McDonald, Brad Koski, John Hastings et Matthew Enns, des représentants de la coalition Zahor, un groupe d'organisations, d'écoles et de synagogues qui ont apporté leur soutien et consacré leurs énergies à la commémoration de l'Holocauste et à l'éducation sur ce sujet. Mark O'Neill, président directeur général, Musée canadien de l'histoire, et Stephen Quick, directeur général, Musée canadien de la guerre.
It is a great honor to welcome you all to the 2016 National Holocaust Remembrance Day ceremony. Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Martyrs and Heroes Remembrance Authority in Jerusalem, determines the theme for its events surrounding Holocaust Remembrance Day every year. The theme for 2016 is the struggle to maintain the human spirit during the Holocaust. This theme pays tribute to those during the Holocaust who were able to maintain their spirit and humanity even during the most horrific of conditions. In light of the dehumanization that Jews experienced, the systematic isolation, starvation, and brutal treatment, it is astonishing that there were so many whose spirits were able to soar above the weight of what they endured. They engaged in activities that uplifted them spiritually, intellectually, and culturally. In the ghettos, and even behind the barbed wire of the camps, Jewish adults secretly educated and nurtured the children who were there. Adults also engaged in cultural undertakings, such as theatrical performances, plays, lectures, and literary evenings.
De nombreux Juifs ont continué de pratiquer leur foi, priant et célébrant en cachette leurs fêtes religieuses. Des groupes de jeunes et un journalisme clandestin ont vu le jour. À Auschwitz, des femmes ont transcrit des poèmes, de mémoires sur les bouts de papier. Par leurs mots et leurs illustrations, des artistes et des intellectuels ont décrit les atrocités bouleversantes de la guerre.
Today, we honor both victims and survivors of the Holocaust, who demonstrated such inner strength, determination, and resilience. Their deeds and actions are a reminder to future generations of the stamina and the nobility of the human spirit. It is now my great honor to introduce the Prime Minister of Canada, the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau. Prime Minister, you have been described as a teacher, a father, an advocate, and leader, reflecting your journey becoming the head of this great country of ours. As a teacher, you have made positive impact on the future citizens of the world. As a father and a husband, you put into practice your belief in the importance of family. And as an advocate, your unique talents in organizing people around a common cause have flourished and affected positive change. We are so happy that you could be with us today. We're thrilled. And knowing, in the midst of all that we are doing here today, we also have to, of course, feel for the people who live in Alberta, in Fort McMurray, living through this awful disaster. And when I listened to you speaking on CBC, I guess, last night, I thought to myself, you're saying exactly what we're all feeling, and we truly appreciate it.
À titre de chef du gouvernement du Canada, vous vous êtes déjà démarqué en travaillant au nom des Canadiens et des Canadiennes, en incarnant les valeurs qui se distinguent le Canada parmi les autres pays du monde. Mesdames et messieurs, veuillez accueillir notre Premier ministre, un grand ami du peuple juif, le très honorable Justin Trudeau.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Fran and Bruce, for that kind introduction. Honored survivors, friends, guests, thank you for being here today. I especially want to thank the Canadian Society for Yad Vashem for bringing us together yet again in this solemn space to remember, to mark, to pledge to never forget. The work that you do to educate people here in Canada and around the world is critically important. We must all know the facts and universal lessons of the Holocaust, including the human destruction that occurred as a result of anti-Semitism. Today, we are here to honor the memory of the 6 million Jewish victims of the Holocaust. 6 millions. C'est un chiffre dont nous devons toujours nous souvenir. 6 millions de mères, de pères, de sœurs et de frères, d'épouses, de maris, de familles et d'amis. 6 millions de vies précieuses qui nous rappellent l'énormité de ce crime horrible. Nous sommes ici pour honorer la mémoire des 6 millions de victimes juives de l'Holocauste, mais aussi pour rendre hommage à ceux qui ont survécu. J'apprécie que nous puissions, dans le cadre d'événements comme celui-ci, rendre hommage aux survivants qui sont encore parmi nous. Honored survivors, we are so fortunate that you came here to make Canada your home. Your contributions to our nation have been tremendous. Your stories, while they are incredibly difficult to recount and to hear, must be told and heard. It is through your stories, through your personal accounts of suffering, pain, and loss, that we learn. We learn about what we are capable of doing to others when we are at our worst, when we let hatred and cruelty dictate our actions. We also learn about what we are capable of doing for each other when we are at our best. We learn of the tremendous courage, hope, and perseverance of survivors. That's what the theme of today's event is all about. The struggle to maintain that essential and noble human spirit that lives inside of all of us. Survivors showed that spirit. They showed it in the way that they cared for each other, in the way that they educated each other, in the way that they held fast to things that gave their lives meaning, music and storytelling, art and community. Même dans les conditions les plus cruelles et les plus difficiles, les survivants ont resté courageux. Nous sommes privilégiés d'être les témoins de ce courage encore aujourd'hui. L'un de ces survivants, parmi nous ici aujourd'hui, est le Cantor Kraus. Après avoir survécu à un camp de travail nazi et au camp de concentration Bergen-Belsen, Cantor Kraus incarne l'éternel espoir et le courage inépuisable des survivants. J'aurai l'immense privilège aujourd'hui d'aider à lui remettre un prix nommé en son honneur. And I might point out that I have the extraordinary privilege of being the second Prime Minister Trudeau to have the honor to know Cantor Kraus and to have felt moved, blessed, and inspired by him and by his incredible gift of song. Thank you, Cantor, for being with us today, as always. Of course, as important as it is that we look back, we must also look forward. Alongside our responsibility to remember is our duty to ensure that the world never again commits such atrocities, not to the Jewish community, nor to any other community that faces persecution and hate. We must affirm, as Canadians and as global citizens, that we will never again allow an atrocity like the Holocaust to occur. Discrimination, racism, and anti-Semitism have no place in this world. Once again, thank you to all of you for being here to help recognize National Holocaust Remembrance Day. May we never forget those we have lost and always honor those who survived. Merci.
Merci, Monsieur le Premier ministre. Je vous prie de demeurer sur l'estrade. Nous commençons maintenant la partie de la cérémonie où nous invitons des membres de notre gouvernement et des membres éminents de la communauté à allumer 6 bougies à la menorah de Yad Vashem, chaque bougie commémorant un élément important de l'Holocauste.
We now begin the portion of the ceremony where we call upon members of our government and distinguished members of the community to light the 6 candles of the Yad Vashem menorah. each one commemorating an important element of the Holocaust. Will the following individuals, comprised of a Holocaust survivor and members of the second, third, and fourth generations, please come up to the stage to join Prime Minister Trudeau in lighting the first candle on the Yad Vashem menorah? Joe Gottdenker, Victor David, Naomi Asriali, Lou Greenbaum, and Mr. Greenbaum's grandson, Kyle Goldenberg. Prime Minister Trudeau, Mr. Gottdenker, Mr. David, Dr. Azrieli, who unfortunately is not here, Mr. Greenbaum, and Mr. Goldenberg. Will you do us the honor of lighting the first candle of the Yad Vashem menorah in memory of the 6 million Jews who were murdered in the Shoah?
Merci d'avoir allumé la bougie en mémoire des 6 millions de Juifs assassinés dans la Shoah. Merci beaucoup.
The Canadian Society for Yad Vashem would like to take this opportunity on this National Holocaust Remembrance Day to honor an individual who can claim the unique distinction of having had a thriving cantorial career for more than 70 years. This man is Cantor Moshe Kraus, who has graced this event with his incomparable voice for 11 years and who is so very dear to our hearts. Ladies and gentlemen, please turn your attention to the monitors to view our presentation of Cantor Kraus's remarkable life.
Mesdames et messieurs, je vous invite maintenant à vous tourner vers les moniteurs pour visionner notre présentation de la vie remarquable du Cantor Kraus.
Moshe Kraus was born in Ushor, Czechoslovakia, to a Hasidic family. He was one of 9 children. He learned music liturgy from his father, singing together with him in their synagogue. Moshe was acclaimed as a child prodigy, singing professionally as a soloist from the age of 9 to 13. He traveled to cities throughout Europe to perform on the High Holy Days. As an adult, he served as a cantor in Sziget, Romania, and Sziget and Budapest in Hungary. In 1943, the Germans rounded up the Jews of Budapest. Cantor Kraus was sent to forced labor at the Bor camp in Yugoslavia. The inmates were forced to move stones from one point to another, only to pick them up again and return them to their original location. From Bor, Cantor Kraus was transported to Bergen-Belsen, the notorious concentration camp in Germany. At night, after a day of backbreaking labor, Cantor Kraus walked from barracks to barracks, singing happy songs to his fellow prisoners in an effort to give them hope to carry on for another day. After the war, Cantor Kraus's cantorial career took flight. He was appointed as chief cantor of the prominent Great Malbim Synagogue in Bucharest, Romania. There, he discovered 2 of his sisters who had survived the war. In 1948, Cantor Kraus moved to Israel, where he became a tank machinist. When Yigal Yadin, the IDF's chief of staff, heard Cantor Kraus sing, he said, "I can get another machinist, but I can't find someone else to sing like you." He was then appointed the first chief cantor of the Israeli Defense Forces. It was during this period that Cantor Kraus met and married his Israeli-born wife, Rivka. Cantor Kraus's star rose to new heights, appearing in concerts in dozens of Jewish centers in Europe. Following his years in Israel, he served as cantor in Antwerp, Belgium, in Johannesburg, South Africa, in Mexico, and Venezuela, and finally, Ottawa, Canada, where Cantor, Kraus, and Rivka have made their home for 40 years. Cantor Kraus believes that he survived the Holocaust when others did not, so that he can share his story of survival and message for all of humanity. The Canadian Society for Yad Vashem is honored to pay tribute to Cantor Kraus, recognizing him for his dedication and commitment to disseminating the universal lessons of the Holocaust.
Cantor Kraus, will you please join us up on the stage? Wait. Do you want to help him? Okay, you can sit. You may be seated. Cantor Kraus, you truly are a treasure. What a remarkable life. What I find truly exceptional about your story was your ability to sing amongst the horrors of Bergen-Belsen, moving from barracks to barracks, uplifting the spirit of your fellow prisoners. What a testament to human spirit and your personal strength. I have one small story that I must relate. I don't know if you remember. The very first time I met Cantor Kraus was here, probably about 8 or 9 years ago. And I knew the story about Bergen-Belsen, and my husband happened to be born in Bergen-Belsen. And when I first told him about that, and he turned to me, and with a sparkle in his eye, he says, you know, I did all the Brit Milah, which is the circumcisions in Bergen-Belsen, right? And he said, and you have to understand, there were 2,500 children born there. He didn't do them all, I'm sure, but he did a lot of them. And he turned to me and I said, then you must have been the Moyle who did my husband's circumcision. And he said, again, with a sparkle in his eye, he says, of course, I remember him. He cried so hard. I had to relate that. Small world. Prime Minister Trudeau, we would be greatly honored to have you present the Catalyst for Change Award to Cantor Kraus. Would you please come up on the stage once again? Okay. This award is presented to you, Cantor Kraus, in appreciation of your tireless work in Holocaust commemoration and for educating communities around the world about the Holocaust's universal lessons. We are so thrilled you're here.
La Société canadienne de Yad Vashem a créé en votre honneur le prix catalyseur de changement Cantor Kraus, attribué à des personnes qui ont eu un impact positif et en consacrant beaucoup de temps et d'efforts à l'éducation sur l'Holocauste et à sa commémoration.
Beautiful speech.
I think you should just stay on up here. Are we still staying up here? Yes, okay. Allow me to take this moment to thank Larry Mervine, a very close friend of Cantor Kraus. I think he has to stay up here. Oops. A close friend of Cantor Kraus for his role in paying tribute to the Cantor. Okay, here we go. The Canadian Society for Yad Vashem is honored to present the Cantor Kraus Catalyst for Change Award to 3 well-deserving individuals, 2 educators and 1 student. The award was created by the Canadian Society for Yad Vashem in Cantor Kraus's name to recognize individuals who have dedicated significant time and effort to create a positive impact through Holocaust education and commemoration. Like the Cantor, who has demonstrated his commitment to teaching others about the Holocaust's universal lessons, the first ever recipients of the Catalyst for Change Award strive to make a difference in their communities, fostering the values of compassion, tolerance, and understanding of all people. The Canadian Society for Yad Vashem is very honored to present the first award to Patrick Masco, a teacher at Charles H. Hulse Public School in Ottawa. Patrick, will you please join us on the stage? Patrick, as you come up here, for more than a decade, you have been an advocate for Holocaust education, actively promoting tolerance and responsible citizenship in your multicultural school and community. The Canadian Society for Yad Vashem thanks you for your ongoing commitment to Holocaust education and for sharing your pedagogical practices with other teachers.
Patrick, nous vous remercions également d'agir à titre d'animateur pour le programme Ambassadeurs de Changement, Ambassadors of Change. Il s'agit d'un programme mis sur pied par la Société de Yad Vashem depuis 3 ans, qui se tient au Musée canadien de la guerre juste avant cette cérémonie. Merci beaucoup.
The Ambassadors of Change program, for which Patrick has been the moderator for 3 years, has this year brought together approximately 190 high school students. A lot of them are in the room right now. These students of various faiths and cultures have joined together with Jewish Holocaust survivors at this unique forum. There, survivors relate their stories, and the students discuss the relevance of the Holocaust and its lessons in today's world.
Patrick, en tant qu'animateur du programme et éducateur exemplaire, vous avez contribué à tisser des liens de compréhension entre divers groupes d'élèves, en leur enseignant la citoyenneté responsable et l'importance du respect de chaque personne, quelle qu'elle soit. Patrick Masco, la Société canadienne de Yad Vashem est fière de vous nommer le tout premier lauréat du prix catalyseur de changement Cantor Kraus. Félicitations.
Prime Minister and Cantor Kraus, we'd be greatly honored to have you present the Catalyst for Change Award to Patrick Masco, our very first recipient of the Cantor Kraus Catalyst for Change Award. We are also honored to present the very next award to Larry Mikulchik, a teacher at William Derby School in Strasbourg, Saskatchewan. Larry, will you please come up to the stage? As Larry comes up, the Canadian Society thanks you, Larry, for sharing your knowledge about the Holocaust and its lessons with your colleagues, students, and the community. We recognize you for your efforts in developing a Holocaust symposium for all the students in your school district, not a small feat, which in the first year had over 30 schools participating. This year, you assumed the responsibility of organizing the symposium for grade 11 students from across the division after the Board of Education in your district decided that it was incumbent for the students to attend on an annual basis. In this way, all students leaving the division will have had the opportunity to learn the important lessons that we, as responsible and respectful Canadian citizens, need to learn from the Shoah. We also recognize your efforts this year in marking International Holocaust Remembrance Day, that was in January, through a variety of very meaningful activities in your school.
De plus, nous sommes fiers de vous qui avez été le seul enseignant canadien choisi pour participer à la formation professionnelle de la USC Shoah Foundation, offerte en Pologne. Larry, la Société canadienne de Yad Vashem, est fière de vous remettre le prix catalyseur de changement Cantor Kraus. Félicitations.
Prime Minister Trudeau and Cantor Kraus, we would be very honored to have you present the next Catalyst for Change Award to Larry Mikulczyk. Thank you. The last recipient of the award for today is Erin Sade. Erin is a high school student from Toronto. Erin, will you please come up to the stage?
Erin, la Société canadienne de Yad Vashem te remercie de donner temps et énergie à la promotion du Twinning Programme de Yad Vashem, qui jumelle des élèves bar mitzvah et bat mitzvah du Canada à des enfants qui ont péri au cours de l'Holocauste. Erin, mes deux filles, Victoria et Catherine, ont participé dans ce programme Twinning à Yad Vashem, à Jérusalem, lors de leur bat mitzvah il y a quelques années. Pour moi, comme un fils d'une survivante de l'Holocauste, je peux vous dire que c'était une des expériences les plus émouvantes, les plus touchantes de ma vie. Merci, Erin, de ton engagement. Merci beaucoup.
As the ambassador of our twinning program, which pairs bar and bat mitzvah students in Canada with children who perished in the Holocaust, we thank you for devoting so many hours of your time for this cause and for picking up the mantle of Holocaust remembrance. Your maturity and devotion to educating others about the Holocaust is really, truly commendable. Prime Minister Trudeau and Cantor Kraus, we would be privileged to have you present the next Catalyst for Change Award to Erin Sade. Thank you, Prime Minister, for being with us. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
We know how busy the Prime Minister is, so we truly do appreciate his being here. It is my great honor right now to introduce the Ambassador of Israel to Canada, His Excellency Raphael Barak. Ambassador Barak is an accomplished diplomat with extensive experience in promoting Israel's diplomatic ties around the globe. After serving in a variety of diplomatic roles in Peru, Brussels, Luxembourg, Washington, and Paris, Ambassador Barak returned to Israel, where he served as Deputy Minister at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. During his service to Canada, Ambassador Barak has been a staunch supporter and a true friend of the Canadian Society for Yad Vashem and our initiatives. Ladies and gentlemen, Ambassador Barak.
Honorable survivors, Prime Minister, Excellencies, dear friends. For many in this world, 6 million is merely a statistic. To all of us in this room, it is an important number that we share a deep connection to. But it's just a number. A number does not tell a story. It does not have a face, a name, a soul. 6 million human beings were replaced by 7 digits. 6 million names were replaced by numbers, tattooed on the skin in the extermination camps. Elie Wiesel once said that Jews were not killed because they were human beings. To the Nazis, they were only Jews. Stripped of the clothing under humanity, many are the heroes of our story, the story we are here to tell today. In Hebrew, Holocaust Memorial Day, Yom HaShoah ve'Hagvura, translate to the Day of Remembrance and Heroism of the Holocaust. Yom HaShoah is about remembering 6 million, but it's also about honoring the heroes, the victims and the survivors, as well as the non-Jewish who risked their life to save others, all who exemplify remarkable courage. In the camps, the prisoners were classified as numbers, deprived of the fabric of a daily life, and yet the heroes fought to hold on to their human spirit as it was being ripped away. These heroes clung to their moral values, culture, and Jewish faith. The heroes were surrounded by illness, horror, death, and yet they painted and danced and prayed and wrote and fought for their freedom. Anne Frank, the teenage girl who hid in a dark Amsterdam room for over 2 years, wrote in her diary, "I have a religion and love. Let me be myself, and then I'm satisfied. I know that I am a woman with inward strength and plenty of courage." Like Anne Frank, the heroes fought to preserve the human spirit. The heroes fought to see the humanity in themselves and in others. But many lost their battles. Anne Frank saw her last days in Bergen-Belsen in March of 1945. During these some dark days, there were others who proved that the human spirit lived on. And let me share with you the story of the Macquiniers, a Dutch Christian family from the town of Bussen who risked their lives to protect a Jewish family of 8, the Weffers. They hid 2 parents and 6 children in their 11 by 12-foot room for almost 3 years. Jan Macquinier, that was at that time a child of 7 years, and despite his ripe age, he kept the secret of the hidden family and refused to discuss it even many years after the war ended. It was a great honor of hosting a reunion of both families, the Weffers and the Macquinier, last night with my dear friend, the Dutch ambassador, Chris Cole. In a world of moral collapse, the Macquinier family defined what it means to be a hero. And I was so proud to learn that because of them, the Weffer family of 8 is today a family of more than 100 proud and accomplished Jewish Canadians. I understand that there are a few members of the Weffer family, so will you please stand up for a moment here? Thank you. Today, when anti-Semitism, incitement, and religious intolerance continues to be heard around the world, especially in certain European and Middle East countries, we must take inspiration from those heroes who defied and fought the evil that surrounded them. Today, we are here to transform 6 million into more than a statistic. We are here to remember, but also to repeat the stories in order to transform the words "never again" into more than just a phrase, I'm here this afternoon to tell you that the State of Israel carries these words as a core responsibility and an eternal commitment to Jewish people everywhere. But never again is not just a Jewish phrase. And today I'm in comforted know that this is for certain, because countries like Canada are doing everything to adhere to this commitment, to instill the memory of the Shoah into the next generation, and to educate them to use their voices when injustice and evil sound. For this, I can offer no deeper thank you. Simon Wiesenthal once said that for evil to flourish, it only requires good men to do nothing. Martin Niemöller, a prominent German Protestant pastor, an outspoken public foe of the Nazi leader, echoed Wiesenthal's talks. Written in 1946, his poem only becomes more vivid with time. And he wrote, "First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me." Remember these words, each of them into your hearts, and let them serve as a call to action for the Jewish people and for all of mankind. Thank you very much.
You could just stay up here. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, Ambassador Barak. It's always lovely to hear you. Would the following individuals please join Ambassador Barak on stage? We're going to be lighting our second candle. The Honorable Jeff Reagan, Speaker of the House. The Honorable Bill Morneau, Minister of Finance. Dr. Andrew P.W. Bennett, Head of the Canadian Delegation to the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. Dr. Mario Silva. Mr. Raja Jain, Multiculturalism Program Officer for Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, and Bruce Kent as a representative RBC. As they're gathering here, we would be very honored to have you all lighting the second candle in memory of the 1.5 million Jewish children who were murdered in the Holocaust. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Merci tout le monde pour avoir allumé une bougie en mémoire de millions et demi d'enfants juifs assassinés dans l'Holocauste.
Thank you. Shema Israel is a daily Jewish prayer that proclaims faith in God. It is considered to be one of the central prayers in our service. It is also traditional for Jews to say the Shema as their last words. In the Holocaust, this prayer was uttered by millions of Jews as they took their last breath before they were callously murdered. Ladies and gentlemen, the Hebrew Foundation School will be singing Shema Israel.
Adam
Thank you so much to the members of the Hebrew Foundation School for giving so much generously of their time and singing so beautifully. We thoroughly enjoyed it. It was quite spectacular. So thank you.
J'ai maintenant le privilège de présenter le chef intérimaire de l'opposition officielle et du Parti conservateur, l'honorable Rona Ambrose. Madame Ambrose a occupé divers postes au sein du cabinet, presque trop nombreux pour les énumérer ici. Parmi la multitude de portefeuilles dont elle a eu la responsabilité, mentionnons les questions touchant la santé, l'économie, l'environnement, le travail, les programmes sociaux et la condition féminine. Même avant son ascension remarquée en politique fédérale, Mme Ambrose a consacré de nombreuses années à améliorer la vie des femmes. Mesdames et messieurs, l'honorable Rona Ambrose.
Treasured survivors, dear veterans, distinguished guests, and fellow Canadians, today we have gathered to carry out our duty of Zachor, remembrance, to commemorate the victims of the Holocaust. We offer our respect and our gratitude to those survivors who are still with us. And we recommit ourselves to the cause of freedom, tolerance, and the dignity of every single human being. But our duty to reflect and remember must always be accompanied by our duty to act. It may be impossible for those of us who did not live through it to comprehend the depravity of the Nazi regime. Les nazis cherchaient à nier l'humanité fondamentale de leurs victimes, procédant à une déshumanisation et à une extermination massive et systématique. The Nazis sought to deny the basic humanity of their victims, to dehumanize and exterminate on a systematic and industrial scale. It was an attempt to exterminate Jewish life, Jewish faith, and Jewish moral virtue. But amidst the destruction, isolation, and terror, there were those who were determined to preserve their lives grounded in moral values and observance of their faith. Face à une adversité immense et inimaginable, ils se sont sentis obligés d'agir. In the face of immense and unimaginable adversity, they felt a duty to act. In his Notes from the Warsaw Ghetto, the historian Emanuel Ringelblum recounted the efforts of small groups of Jews to document all aspects of Jewish life in Warsaw during the Holocaust, including reports from the extermination camps. Their work continued through the first deportations to the death camps, but ended with the destruction of the ghetto in 1943. Ringelblum himself managed to escape, but was discovered in 1944 and murdered by the Nazis. Now, in 1942, after British radio had started to broadcast some of the first reports of the Holocaust, he wrote, and I quote, "One thing is clear to us. Our toils and tribulations, our devotion and constant terror have not been in vain. We have struck the enemy a hard blow. It is not important whether or not the revelation of the incredible slaughter of Jews will have the desired effect, whether or not the methodical liquidation of entire Jewish communities will stop. One thing we know, we have fulfilled our duty." They saw it as their duty to act and to live with dignity despite the terror around them. It's a lesson for all of us, one of many that must be learned from the Holocaust. That is why the previous government was proud to support important work on the commemoration and the memorialization, like the Canadian Museum of Human Rights in Winnipeg, the National Holocaust Memorial, and the March of the Living Digital Archive project. But, thank you. Thank you. But to make the phrase "never again" truly meaningful, we must be moved to action to ensure these events are not repeated. That is why Canada must meet deadly extremist ideology around the world with greater force, not merely words. C'est pourquoi nous défendons la liberté de culte dans le monde entier, en particulier pour les minorités religieuses qui sont persécutées et chassées uniquement en raison de leur foi. It's why we defend freedom of worship around the globe, especially for those religious minorities who are persecuted and hunted simply for their faith. And it's why we defend Israel and its right to exist as a homeland of the Jewish people. And it's why we stand up to any attempt to delegitimize Israel and fight against anti-Semitism. And fight it in every vile form that it takes. And so today we rededicate ourselves to the values that Canada has always stood for: freedom, democracy, the rule of law, religious tolerance, and the universal dignity of every man and woman. And we resolve to act on these values, even in our darkest moments, for a world free of terror, persecution, and genocide. Thank you. You're welcome. Am I supposed to stay up here? Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Ambrose. Yes, please stay up here. Would the Honorable Cantor, Minister of Veterans Affairs and Associate Minister of National Defense, the Honorable Catherine McKenna, Minister of Environment and Climate Change, Honorable Marianne Mihachik, Minister of Employment, Workforce, Development and Labor, and the Honorable Miriam Monsef, Minister of Democratic Institutions, and the Honorable Russell Brown, Supreme Court Justice. Please come and join Ms. Ambrose as we light the third candle on the Yad Vashem menorah in honor of the Holocaust survivors who have courageously rebuilt their lives after the Holocaust. Mangled so many names.
Merci d'avoir allumé la troisième bougie en honneur des survivants de l'Holocauste qui, avec beaucoup de courage, ont rebâti leur vie après l'Holocauste. J'ai l'honneur maintenant de présenter la représentante du nouveau Parti démocratique du Canada, Madame Erin Laverdière, députée de la circonscription de Laurier-Saint-Marie depuis 2011 et porte-parole du parti en matière d'affaires étrangères. Mesdames et messieurs, je vous prie d'accueillir Madame Erin Laverdière.
Merci. Esteemed survivors, excellencies, dear colleagues and friends, nous nous unissons aujourd'hui à tous les Canadiens pour souligner Yom HaShoah, le jour commémoratif de l'Holocauste. En ce jour de deuil, nous rendons hommage à toutes les victimes qui ont payé de leur vie. Nous reconnaissons le courage de ceux qui ont survécu envers et contre tout. Et nous soulignons la bravoure des personnes qui ont risqué leur propre vie en offrant un refuge aux victimes de persécution. Even in a century full of war and brutality, the genocide of 6 million Jewish men, women, and children, and of others targeted by the Nazi, is a tragedy like no other. There were mothers, fathers, grandparents, sons, daughters, spouses, and friends. And they were murdered simply for being who they were. Today we join with all Canadians in observing Yom HaShoah, the Holocaust Remembrance Day. And on this day of mourning, we remember the victims who paid the ultimate price. We recognize the determination and the triumph of human spirit in those who survived against all odds. And we pay tribute to all those who risked their own lives to provide refuge to victims of persecution. During humanity's darkest hour, they had the courage to shine a bright light of hope. We must remember that bright light of home. We must remember the Holocaust. But remembering alone is not enough. It is up to all of us to defeat this legacy of hatred by fighting anti-Semitism and all forms of intolerance. Canada was the first country to sign the Ottawa Protocol on combating anti-Semitism, but there's much more to be done. Canada must now lead the way as an advocate for Holocaust survivors and their families whose property was seized during the Nazi occupation of Europe. The importance of restitution or compensation extends beyond simple justice. Over 40,000 Holocaust survivors have settled in Canada, and we're so proud that they're here since the end of World War II. Many of these survivors now face significant financial and medical challenges. Restoration of property or appropriate compensation would allow them to live the rest of their lives in greater security and dignity. After everything they've been through, we owe them nothing less. And most of all, we must never forget that love is stronger than hate. Travaillons ensemble pour condamner toute forme de haine, d'intolérance et de racisme, et faisons en sorte qu'une horreur comme l'Holocauste ne se reproduise jamais. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Dr. Laverdiere. I now would like to call on Richard Marceau, General Counsel and Senior Government Advisor for CIJA, to please join Dr. Laverdiere to light our fourth candle on the Yad Vashem menorah in tribute of the partisans, ghetto fighters, members of the resistance, and allied armed forces who fought valiantly against the Nazis and their collaborators in the Holocaust. Like, I don't know why.
Merci d'avoir allumé une bougie en hommage aux partisans, aux combattants des ghettos, aux membres de la résistance et des forces alliées qui ont lutté contre les nazis et leurs collaborateurs pendant l'Holocauste.
It is now my pleasure to call on Erin Sade, who you've seen before, to come to the stage to play Schindler's List on the violin. Erin participated in the Canadian Society for Yad Vashem's twinning program, in which she was paired with a child who perished in the Holocaust. She now keeps a photo of this child by her side when she plays the violin, both as her inspiration and to keep alive the memory of this child who never had the opportunity to fulfill her dreams or reach her potential.
Merci beaucoup, Erin. C'était vraiment magnifique et touchant. Bravo. Erin, you're a Jewish father or mother's dream. Charming, intelligent, engaged in community, and you play the violin. So we're all very proud of you. Thank you very much. J'ai maintenant le privilège de présenter le chef du Parti vert, Elizabeth May. Madame May est écrivaine, militante, avocate, ardente défenseur de la justice sociale, des droits de la personne et de l'environnement depuis plus de 30 ans, et aussi un grand ami du peuple juif. Nous sommes toujours heureux de la compter parmi nous durant cette cérémonie. Nous sommes profondément touchés par sa passion et son engagement envers la mémoire de l'Holocauste et par son respect à l'égard des survivants de l'Holocauste. Mesdames et messieurs, le chef du Parti vert, Madame Elizabeth May.
Dear friends, I want to pause for a moment to say something else about Erin. I think it's just quite extraordinary, Erin, that you would be, and so appropriate, that you be one of the first, there you are, recipients of the Cantor Kraus Award for Catalyzing Change. I didn't know that a violin could sound like a cantor. I'm always moved when Cantor Kraus is singing prayers. I'm usually moved to tears, Cantor. Your voice is so powerful. And Erin, your violin is an instrument of emotion and remembrance in a powerful way. So I just want to thank you again for sharing music with us. Mesdames, Messieurs, mes collègues, c'est toujours un honneur d'être ici, parmi tout le monde. Dans mon vie comme chef d'un parti national, comme député, j'ai l'occasion de participer dans plusieurs des événements, des cérémonies autour du Canada. Mais comme maintenant c'est la 6e année que j'étais ici, c'est clair que cette cérémonie est vraiment non pareille. I go to a lot of events, and there's nothing that touches the deep, raw emotion of remembrance and the power of being together to say never again. And in this space, this war museum, it's always struck me, and I've never said it to you before, we're surrounded by tanks here. We're surrounded by warplanes, and somehow the Society for Yad Vashem takes the War Museum and converts it into a sacred space with a cry for peace. It is a physical exercise of scripture and Torah, of beating our swords into plowshares just by being here and making this place a sacred place of prayer. And I do want to thank the Canadian Society for Yad Vashem. The work you do is extraordinary. And the care, it's so evident to me, having had the privilege of being with you for 6 years. Every year's ceremony has a theme. The theme is lived out in the way that the prayers are put together and the people who speak to you. And I think, Fran, and I know there are a lot of board members in the audience, I want to thank you again for all your work. This is not an easy thing to organize. And it's so critical so that we never forget. This year's theme, the struggle to maintain the human spirit during the Holocaust, put me in mind, of course, of Viktor Frankl and Man's Search for Meaning and his work. To survive the Holocaust with your spirit intact is to triumph over one of the largest forces for evil, the largest force for evil that humanity has ever seen. The triumph wasn't a military triumph, but the human spirit triumphed. And I thought this quote might be appropriate, and it's from Viktor Frankl's work. quote, "We who lived in concentration camps can remember the men who walked through the huts comforting others, giving away their last piece of bread. They may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." Close quote. And in this, reminded that he could have written those men who walked through the huts or stood outside, singing prayers and singing songs to lift the human spirit. We are a species capable of extraordinary goodness, of kindness, and of love. And tragically, we are a flawed species, regardless of nationality, also capable of unimaginable sadistic cruelty. And it's possible in any country, and it's possible in any people. And that's why it's so critical that the memories of the Holocaust, the experience of the Holocaust, be shared, be taught, and never be forgotten. Because we are, at our essence, only one thing. We are human beings. And how we choose to respond to the challenges of whatever comes towards us, how we choose to say that anti-Semitism is intolerable, how we choose to say we, and Your Excellency, we support as Canadians, as one, the right of the State of Israel to exist in peace and in harmony with neighbors. We accept and we embrace fundamental human rights in our hearts, not because they're written as laws, because they're written in our hearts, because we know that the human spirit, as we nurture it, should yield those things that make us better than ourselves, raise up the human spirit, and inspire future generations. In this, I'm humbled to be among those of you who survived the Holocaust. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Ms. May. As usual, a very moving, exceptional address. Will Rabbi Reuven Bulka and the following members of the Zachor Remembrance Coalition please join Ms. May on the stage to light the fifth candle on the Yad Vashem menorah?
Susan Reutman de la Fondation Azrieli, Hannah Brownstein de Beth Halokem Canada, aide aux anciens combattants handicapés d'Israël, David Smith et Hyman Smith, des Amis canadiens de la Cité des Garçons de Jérusalem, Sophie Frankel, de Canadienne Hadassah Wizzo, Helen Walsh, de l'Association canadienne des vétérans de Force la Paix pour les Nations Unies.
Rachel Chertkov from the Canadian Jewish Political Affairs Committee, Tony Silberman from the Canadian Race Relations Foundations, Mina Cohen from the Center for Holocaust Education and Scholarship, Nathan Weinstock from the Chenstochover Society, Shimon Fogel from CIJA.
Vera Honekwak, Demuna Canada, Leora Schaefer, de Facing History and Ourselves, Rabbi Stokes Jr. de la Fondation I Talk to Strangers, et Donna Holbrook et Pastor Tech de l'Ambassade chrétienne internationale de Jérusalem, Canada.
Debbie Halton-Weiss from the Jewish Federation of Ottawa, Linda Thaler-Wachter from the Jewish National Fund of Ottawa and Atlanta, Canada, Irving Erin from Jewish War Veterans of Canada, Ottawa Post, Jeff Shabbos from the Lodger Center Congregation.
Sam Lazar de la Société Marima Rocher de Toronto, Sonia Longbert du Centre commémoratif de l'Holocauste de Montréal, Alexandra Tichinoff du Projet Mémoire, et Toby Herskovitz de Namat, Canada.
And could we have the veterans of our veterans who are here today, if they could come up to light some candles, that would be really wonderful. Okay. Ms. May, Rabbi Bulka, and the representatives of the Zachor Coalition will do us the honor of lighting the fifth candle on the Yad Vashem menorah in tribute to the righteous among the nations, non-Jews who risked their own lives to rescue Jews during the Holocaust. Oh boy.
Merci d'avoir allumé la bougie en l'honneur des justes parmi les nations. Ces non-juifs qui ont risqué leur vie pour sauver des juifs persécutés au cours de l'Holocauste. Merci beaucoup.
Okay, the rabbi still stays up here. Okay. It's now my honor to introduce Rabbi Reuven Bulka, the spiritual leader since 1967 of Ottawa's Machazikai Chadas congregation, to deliver the Devar Torah. A Devar Torah is a sermon that draws inspiration from the Torah. Rabbi Bulka is a man of many prodigious talents, an author of 30 books and countless articles, a host of his own radio show, and a dedicated grassroots volunteer who regularly heads up and participates in a variety of charitable events for the benefit of the Ottawa community and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rabbi Reuven Bulka.
Thank you, Fran and Bruce. Usually sermons take a half an hour. This one will not. We're here to celebrate not merely survival and maintaining the spirit. We're here to celebrate also resilience. And we begin with a fervent prayer that resilience, which will be so necessary in Fort McMurray and in Alberta, that this resilience will be a blessing that will be bestowed upon all the residents there, that they will be able to build out of the shattered ruins of those horrible fires. We unfortunately have a knowledge through personal experience of our parents, grandparents, and grandparents, great-grandparents, of the conflagration and the fire that can devastate. But we've also experienced the resilience, and we hope that will be blessing that will be bestowed upon them. We ask a very simple question. Where did this all come from? All of a sudden, out of this horrible situation, which would crack the resolve of any human being, we were able to persevere. I suggest to you that you don't have to look that far, but you have to look backwards. We look backwards at a festival that we just completed, which is Passover. And one of the interesting things about Passover is what you do not see. Every single Jewish celebration, what we call the pilgrimage festivals that are enunciated in the Bible, all of them carry with them an obligation to rejoice. The only festival that has no such obligation is Passover. We are not asked to rejoice on Passover. There's no biblical mandate to do so. And you ask yourself a very simple question, why not? The answer is again very simple. We did not, and to this day do not rejoice that we became free through the death of other individuals. Yes, these were not kind people. These were not nice people. But we don't rejoice at the downfall of others. We therefore were basically told, Passover, don't go backwards, Don't wreak revenge. Don't be happy at the downfall of your enemies. You should, simply speaking, be focused on the future. You may say to me, what's the big deal whether I take a minute to gloat? The answer is very simple. It's a waste of human energy to spend time on negativity. And every single splice of negativity that you put into yourself diminishes your capacity to embrace the future. This is what was inculcated into our DNA at the very moment that we became free. And that DNA came back into the surface so many times in our history, and perhaps never as potently and as magnificently and as miraculously as during the Shoah. So we celebrated freedom, but the lesson that was told to us is, this is not freedom to gloat, this is not freedom to revenge, this is not freedom to behave irresponsibly. This is freedom to embrace humanity to the extent that we're able to do so. The fact that you are all here, the fact that we have so many survivors with us, these are not simply people who survived. These are people who built on that negativity to make this world a better place. God bless them, and God bless you.
Thank you. Merci, Rabbi Boka. You can't run away that quickly.
Okay. Thank you. That was beautiful. I now ask all the survivors here with us and the 10 students representing each of the schools here today to please come to the stage and together light the 6th candle on the Yad Vashem menorah. While you are making your way to the stage, allow me to mention the names of the schools by name. Ashbury College, Glen Forest Secondary School, École Secondaire des Hautes Sommets, Hebrew Foundation School, John Grant High School, Maryville High School, Nepean High School, Notre Dame, Sir Robert Borden, South Carleton, West Humber Collegiate, and Woodruff High School. We thank all the educators from the schools across Ontario and Quebec who brought their students to the ceremony for your commitment to Remembrance Zachor. With all the students in the audience who are not on stage, please stand up for the lighting of the 6th candle. And will Cantor, Kraus, and the Holocaust survivors on the stage, and the rabbi, please light the 6th candle on the Yad Vashem menorah in honor of future generations who will carry forth the torch of Holocaust remembrance into the future. Oh boy. Okay, thank you. And those students who are making their way back to their seats, and if you've got your flowers, I don't know if you have them or not, some of you do, and those of you who do have flowers, if you could come up and lay your yellow flowers at the base of the menorah. I think there's some in the audience who have them. Here we go. While the yellow color harkens back to the infamous yellow stars that Jews were forced to wear during the Holocaust, the flower suggests the transcendence of that symbol of hate to the flowering of life and new beginnings.
Merci d'avoir allumé la 6e bougie en l'honneur des générations futures qui portent le flambeau de souvenirs de l'Holocauste. While we're laying the flowers down, I will continue.
I'm honored to introduce Colonel Willie Glazer, a Holocaust survivor who will be reciting the Kalmela Rachamim, Jewish prayers for the souls of those who have passed away. Colonel Glazer served in the Free Polish Army during the Holocaust. His father was murdered in Auschwitz and mother and three siblings in the Belzec camp. Willie speaks frequently in schools and at Holocaust commemorative events about his experiences. Okay, he's going to be coming up in 1 minute. Here he comes. Okay. Colonel Willie Glazer. Thank you. Just a second. I'm going to wait for all these to leave, okay? Finally. Oh my. Oh my. Got a lot of students today from all over. So nice. My goodness. As you can see, these are all our students who were at the Ambassador of Change program that we did prior to this ceremony. As we said, there's close to 190 of these students. They did an unbelievably remarkable job. They sat in small groups talking to Holocaust survivors, discussing very important concepts about Holocaust education. And what was most remarkable was when they took turns talking about what they had learned, we were really proud because there are young, smart, articulate people who will be the future of our country and who I know, we all know, are going to do an outstanding job because they certainly are very, very committed. I'm going to ask you all to please rise for the Kalmela Rachamim and remain standing for the Kaddish and a moment of silence that will follow. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Willie Glazer.
I will now recite a memorial prayer, and I'm not Cantor Kraus, for the millions of innocent men, women, and children who sacrificed their lives during the Shoah and made Kiddush Hashem to sanctify the name of God. El mole rachamim, shochem bam raumim, hamtze minucho nechaun al kanfe hashkino, bemalos kedaushim utahaurim, kesauhe horokia mashirim, es nishmaus hakedaushim vehatahaurim, shehemsu veshehenergu, veshenischattu, veshenisrefu, veshenitbeu, veshenechneku al kiddush Hashem, al yedei hatzaurerim hagermonim, yima shemam vesichrom. Began Edem tehei menuchosom, lochem baal horachamim, yastirem beseza kenofov leolomim, veyitzra bizra, hachayim es nishmausehem, aranoi hu nachalosom, veyonochu besholam al mishkevausehem, venaumar omein.
I'd like to call Rabbi Kraus, Cantor Kraus, please, to come and sing the Kaddish. The Kaddish, these are prayers recited by Jews mourning the loss of loved ones. This is the 12th year that the Cantor is singing for us at this event. We're all going to stand and remain standing for a moment of silence that will follow. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got Rabbi Cantor Kraus again. Here we go. May I say a few words? Sure.
Please. Say with me the famous prayer, the holy prayer Kaddish. It is the only prayer what is called Kaddish, holy. I will say it slowly and follow me. His Gadal ויסקדש שמי רבו ביולמו דברו קירוסי וימליך מלכוסי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בייס ישראל בעגולו ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן יהי שמי רבו מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיו יסבורך וישתבח ויספואר ויסרומם ויסנשא ויסהדור ויסעלה ויסהלול שמי דקודשו בריך הוא לאלו מן כל ברכוסו ושירוסו תושבחוסו ונחמוסו דאמירון בעולמו ואמרו אמן יהי שלמה רבו מן שמיו וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו amen. Thank you. Can they be seated?
Not yet. We're going to have could we just have a moment of silence, please? Thank you. I'm now going to call on Rabbi Boka to come to blow the shofar, please. We'll remain standing. You may be seated now. Thank you. Thank you, Cantor. Did you want to say something? Oh, excuse me. You can sit, but Cantor would like to say something. Go ahead. Sorry.
Wasn't easy for me to prepare a few words to you after I was honored, because my stories are very sorry stories. If you will buy my book and you will read it, you will understand me. But I was thinking and finding a story, and the story does something, answers me a question. There is a lot of questions what people from the Holocaust have. One of the very simple questions is, why did God let kill 6 million people? And there is no answer. But still, there is also another question. There is many questions. The other question is, I ask myself, why did I remain alive? My father was burned, my mother was burned, my 2 brothers and 2 sisters burned, my 32 uncles and aunties burned, over 100 cousins and cousins burned. Why did I remain alive? I go to give you the answer, and it will not be very sad, because it is a good answer. I remained alive. The answer is, I don't want to make a long story. I want to make it very short. I never knew in my life what Bergen-Belsen is, where it is. And I remember all of a sudden we arrived in Bergen-Belsen and they began to scream, Bergen-Belsen, Bergen-Belsen, Bergen-Belsen. What is Bergen-Belsen? Where is Bergen-Belsen? Nobody knows. But then they opened the doors and they told us Bergen-Belsen is a concentration camp, and it was the worst concentration camp. Auschwitz was a paradise. First they were gassed in the gas chamber, and then when they were already dead, they burned them. And Jews burned them. No Germans, Jews. The Germans stood there with the guns, but Jews burned them. In Bergen-Belsen, they were burned alive. Every day was burned 1,000 people. Not 1,001, not 999, 1,000 people, very punctual, pünktlich. So when they counted, when the transport every day arrived, normally, there was always missing 100 people, 50 people, 60 people, 200 people. And they came to the camp and they catch people. Then in the day when I arrived, was one of the very seldom days, we arrived 1,012 people. I was in the last wagon, and when they counted and counted and counted, all of a sudden I came in the 12. How I came in the 12, I don't know. And they took me and they brought me to Bergen-Belsen. It was a half an hour walk. And I went to Bergen-Belsen and they gave me a bed in the Holland barrack. All the Jews from Holland. And I remember it came to me, the chief rabbi from Rotterdam, and greeted me. And he says, I'm very sorry that you are here. They brought you here. But we are from Holland, and my luck was I speak a good German, and they speak Holland. Holland is the dialect from German, so we could speak. Some 3 days later, I think so, all of a sudden I can hear, I got a bed, it was 3 beds, I got one of the third bed, and I hear there is a choir from 3 people. They are singing a Yiddish mama. So I got up from my bed. I couldn't sit up. There was very loud. So I got up from the bed and began to walk where they sing. And I see 3 people. And they told me they are from Warsaw, Poland. And it was very nice, I must say. I liked it. But I was sorry, why a Yiddish mama? Everybody cries. They cry enough all the day, every day. Why can't they sing happy songs? Eli, Eli Lama Zaftonu, also a very sad song, and people are crying. And this made me to release to the rabbi, who I am, Chief Cantor of Budapest. And I wouldn't mind to sing for the people and make them happy. And I begin to go from barrack to barrack every week. I had a few barracks, but I also I got permission to go to the women department. There was a woman part, also from women, and I used to sing them happy songs. Soll schön kommen die Geule, soll schön kommen die Geule. And all of them used to sing with me. They were so happy. I sing, auf dem Pripyatschik brennt a fire, in den Stieb is heiß. They all sing with me. They were very happy. I don't remember again the second or the third day. The couple tells me, a Jewish couple, was for every barrack was a Jewish couple. And he tells me, you had a big listener to you. So who is it? Kramer. He was the head of the camp. Kramer? In America they say Kramer. And he liked very much your singing. Very nice. Sunday, I heard they call my number. We didn't have names. He called my number. Okay, I go to the door. The dressed in the pajama, we had only pajamas. They took away everything what we had. All a pajama, we were dressed, and that's all. So I ran to the door, and there is a Nazi. And I said, Kramer want to see you. Lunchtime. So I didn't want to eat lunch, but there was lunch. Sein gesund. I get in the car, and we go to Kramer. We go out from the come from the camp, and we travel for 10 minutes, and I came to a beautiful house and go in, and nobody can go in, only I myself, the Nazi couldn't go in, and they told me which door I have to knock, and I knock on the door, I open the door, and I'm coming in, and there is sitting Kramer and eating. Undressed, I'm sorry to say this, he was only the underwear of what he had, and girls are serving him, not dressed. He's eating, and what he didn't finish, he gave me. Oh, I can't tell you what it was for me. Unbelievable. For weeks, I didn't have what to eat. But what they gave, I eat. He finished eating. He says to me, you think German? Luckily, I sing German. What do you think? I sing songs from Joseph Schmidt, was a Jew from Czernowitz, and he became a world tenor. Unbelievable. I never heard till then and since then such a tenor. And I liked his technique. So I was 16 years old. I went to Vienna, traveled to Vienna. In Vienna was his teacher, Professor Wolf. And I went into him and I said, I would like to learn by you to sing. I'm sorry I can't take you. I begin 9 o'clock till 8 o'clock in the night, and I'm not better than a human being. Okay, what can I do? And I begin to go out. He says to me, can you sing me a few notes? I don't mind. And I went up, and he sat down to the piano and began to play, and I began to sing for him a German song, because Austria is also German. I was singing for a minute. He stopped. You come tomorrow 8 o'clock. Such a tenor I have never heard, and I want you for a pupil. Okay. After 6 months or 7 months, it is so many years. You go back. I was 21 years old, something like this. All of a sudden, I go to the lesson, and I pass by a synagogue, and it was the Kristallnacht, and they burned the synagogue. The Germans were already in Vienna, and they burned all the synagogues. I never go home. I straight away go to the... Pardon? We have to get going. Can you finish the story? Can't hear you. Can you finish the story? Up to you.
Yeah, please. Okay. Some people have, finish your story.
No,
just finish it. Just tell me.
I don't mind. If you want, I can stop.
Okay, just finish it. I think your wife wants you to come sit down.
My wife wants to go to. My wife wants me to go to sit down.
Yeah.
Okay, I can go.
No. Finish your story. Just try and finish it. Okay. Thank you.
Where am I?
You were going to go to the. You were going to go to the German guy, and you sang for him. You were going to sing for the German.
Anyway, to make it short, I sing for him German, and it took me on for a scholar, and I came every day, 8 o'clock from 8 till 9. And that happened with the Crystal Night. So I ran away to Prague straight away. I went home for the things. I ran away home. And I ran away to the station and went to Prague. Okay, I want to make it short. The story is how I went every Sunday to sing to Kramer. And the Nazis knew it, and because they knew it, they didn't bother me. I could go in the street anytime I wanted, and they came to look for people to the crematorium. They were short. They never bothered me. So this is the reason why they didn't bother me. I made it very short. Thank you very much.
Cantor, Kraus, thank you. We would have loved, I'm sorry I had to cut you short, but there's some people who have planes to catch and places to go. So we would love to hear more of your stories. It was amazing. Thank you very, very much. I'd now like to take the occasion to thank the survivors, the dignitaries, and all the other guests for joining us to commemorate this Holocaust. The Canadian Society for Yad Vashem gratefully acknowledges both the RBC Foundation and Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada for their generous funding of this ceremony and for the Ambassador of Change program. We also thank the following survivors for their participation in the Ambassador's Change program: Ellie Bolagraf, Tibor Egervari, Vera Gara, Eva Gelbman, Joe Gottdenker, Nestor Hobe, Dr. Agnes Klein, Eva Kober, Kathy Morrison, and Judy Young.
Don't worry, I won't tell you a story. La Société canadienne de Yad Vashem souhaite également remercier le Musée canadien de la guerre et son personnel qui nous ont si bien accueillis, ainsi que la Fondation Azrieli pour le généreux don de ses mémoires des survivants de l'Holocauste.
And of course, this ceremony would not have come together without the hard work of Yaron Ashkenazi, the Executive Director of the Canadian Society for Yad Vashem, and our so hardworking staff who do an unbelievable job, who spend so much time on this. Thank you so much for your outstanding efforts to organize and lead the ceremony. And I'd like to thank my French cohort here, Bruce Kent, who is my partner in crime here, who did an outstanding job with the French. Thank you very much. It's always great. Following Hatikva, please make your way to the foyer for a reception with refreshments. There you can help yourselves to the Holocaust survivors' memoirs that have been generously donated by the Azrieli Foundation. Please note that the buses, which were sponsored by the Canadian Society, with the assistance of the Montreal Holocaust Memorial Centre, will be leaving at, 6 o'clock for Toronto and Montreal. Please rise for Hatikva.
Veuillez vous lever pour le Hatikva.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Let's hope to see you next year. Thank you. I got to run. I got to play.
You weren't sure.